Our top stories in this episode include: Uganda's economy remains strong and resilient with no cause for concern regarding debt sustainability, says Ramadan Gobi, the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Finance. In Kasese District, the Uganda Development Corporation is spearheading efforts to revive the long-dormant salt factory. Meanwhile, the Auditor General has revised Womeme's buyout amount from the Parliament-approved $190 million to $118 million. And tonight, the Sorority Fruit Factory Limited takes center stage in our Sounds of Business. Fasten your seatbelts as we get into the details. In our first report, Uganda's economy remains strong and resilient with no cause for concern regarding debt sustainability, says Ramadan Gobi, the Permanent Secretary at the Ministry of Finance. He attributed this to sound macroeconomic management policies. Dennis Tegoa reports.
Uganda's debt to GDP ratio and overall debt sustainability are within safe limits due to sound macroeconomic management policies.
When it comes to the overall macroeconomic management, our debt level in Uganda is among the lowest in the region. You can Uganda check, you are journalists, and also out there, the people can check. Debt to GDP ratios across, then debt service cost across the world. Check. And then you see where Uganda is vis-a-vis other economies. This is not by chance, but by deliberate macroeconomic management policies which we have in place, including debt sustainability.
During a visit to Roofing's rolling mills in Namamve, the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development, Ramadan Gobi, reaffirmed government's commitment to safeguarding investors and their businesses. He underscored the manufacturing sector in upholding Uganda's tenfold growth strategy.
And we are using the ATMs. And the aim is actually aligned to this. It is mineral-based industrialization, which means turning our iron ore into steel products. That's it. At the moment, Roofings has been on the upper end of the value chain, importing the intermediate goods, intermediate products, and then turning them into final products. But there is a good plan here, which we are trying to support them among other players in the industry, but in particular them being among the pioneers to do backward integration.
When are we going to meaningfully exploit Uganda's iron ore reserves? And that is what we're trying to address now as Roofings Group with potential partners like Danieli. We've already started with a cold rolling mill complex. The next step for us is to put an iron making plant where we use Uganda's iron ore to make DRI, and then onwards for long and flat steel production. This is the dream, the vision. Of course, for that you require a couple of key determinants to facilitate the project. Number one is energy, as was mentioned. We require for such a project no less than 100 megawatts of electricity. This is almost like a medium-sized dam. So that is one of the key determinants. The second key determinant is a reducing agent, which we have been trying to scratch our head over and trying to see what could be the most economically viable reducing agent to use for iron production in Uganda.
Roofings Group, a leading producer of quality steel products in Uganda, is currently partnering with Danieli Group of Italy to establish a state-of-the-art production facility at Namamve. The company aims to double production capacity to meet both local and regional demand.
We are exporting and gaining the market share everywhere because of our highest quality of the product. And highest quality of product you get with highest investment into machinery and all. And this is why we got partnership with people like Danieli, whose machinery is the top-class machinery.
We are building one of the most interesting projects that we are doing currently around the world. Is our first project in East Africa, but it will be, as you visit, it will be one of the top quality machinery and equipment around the world. And this is what we have been inquired they asked us to supply something that would meet the standard of the best product quality around the world, because this is what roofing is believing in.
The new plant, valued at over US $100 million, is a significant upgrade from previous production lines, offering greater efficiency and environmental sustainability.
So this project is called Cold Rolling Mill Complex. Typically, it's an investment of close to $120 million, and what it brings in is a reliable product in the market with a Japanese quality. As we speak, the value addition in this value chain is about 54%. Right? We add, we do the pickling, we do the trimming, then we go ahead and do the galvanizing and color coating. So what we used to import, the country used to import, is a substitution here.
We want to see that we revitalize and revamp the construction industry by offering quality products, but as well very affordable. The only difference from the phase you saw, which is already a galvanizing line with a color coating line, with this new one, is that this new one of the equipment that is procured from Italy by Danelli is actually more modern, which makes us more efficient.
Dennis Igor for UBC.
The Auditor General Edward Akol released a valuation report indicating $118 million for the unrecovered capital investments by Umeme to UEDCL. This is below the approved figure of a $190 million loan approved by Parliament to cater for the Umeme buyout.
In the report of the Parliamentary Committee on National Economy recently presented to Parliament, the total estimated investments by Umeme as approved and verified by Electricity Regulatory Authority amount to $746.798 million, inclusive of $10.84 million to be invested by end of March 2025. The total amount recovered by Umeme is $625.22 million, leaving a balance of $127.66 million unrecovered investments. In order to beat the timeline for the buyout and conditions for the loan effectiveness and avoid punitive measures, Parliament approved a loan request of $190 million to facilitate the Umeme buyout. The Auditor General Edward Akol has released the final figures for the valuation costs for the capital investments estimated at $118 million, which is about 433.6 billion shillings. This is less by $72 million from $190 million earlier approved by Parliament. The report was received by the Speaker of Parliament, Annette Anita Among.
I appointed Ms. Grant Thornton, Certified Public Accountants, to undertake the special audit on my behalf and report to me to enable me report to Parliament and other stakeholders. The special audit has now been finalized.
So we should be able to pay what Auditor General is reporting, not the estimate that were given. And as we made a disclaimer that day, that we shall only pay based on the Auditor General's report. And after
Later, the Minister of State for Finance in charge of general duties, Henry Musasizi, presented the report to the House, chaired by Deputy Speaker Thomas Tayebwa, and the House adopted it.
Between Umeme Limited and Uganda Electricity Distribution Company Limited.
This is a report of the Auditor General, who is part of the House. Okay, I don't want to subject it to debate. We just want this report to go to government so that now for us we have finished our part.
A section of MPs has stated approving the final audit report by the Auditor General, calling for its scrutiny. But the Deputy Speaker, Thomas Tayebwa, responded on the procedure of handling a special report.
This, Mr. Speaker, is going to be the first in modern history of Parliament that a report can be read there and MPs pass it without even seeing it.
I think it would be prudent that the Auditor General's report is, number one, verified, studied.
The timeline is honorable colleagues. Otherwise, What do I lose by referring it to the committee? I would love that. But now, if we are to beat the deadline of 31st of March, which is next Monday, that is in the contract, whereby if we don't settle by that timeline, Umeme will get a blank check.
Part of what irks the MPs are the conflicting figures by the respective stakeholders and the fear that more costs may rise in the future.
But also government needs to look at the practice that has been adopted, that government does not need to wait for Parliament before you implement the report of Auditor General. Thank you.
Thank you.
And in the second place, we were meant by rules, and under even a layman person could do this, to go on ground and ascertain exactly what government is buying out from Umeme. Umeme has no specific permanent assets that it holds.
The Deputy Speaker of Parliament, Thomas Tayebwa, guided that the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Development reports back to the House after implementing the buyout process.
In more news, the Uganda Development Corporation is working to revive the salt factory in Kasese district, with Rwenzori Shining Stars Limited showing interest in the project. Ivan Kahwa reports.
Kasese Salt Lake is found within Queen Elizabeth National Park in Kasese district. It is a crater lake that has inlets but without outlets, causing high evaporation and salt concentration, and was formed through volcanic activity thousands of years ago.
Whenever we stand here up to 700 meters deep on the cross section, they are only rocks of salt, and there is an impermeable rock which does not allow water to penetrate through.
The main activity here is salt mining, which is harvested through traditional methods from salt pans, which in simple understanding are plots of water.
Most of us who own salt pans, we've acquired these salt pans from our parents. But the cost of buying a plot, the cost is between 7 million now to over 30 million.
3 various types of salt are extracted from this lake, and these include:
that's grade 1 salt for human consumption, grade 2 salt for livestock, and then we have grade 3 for industrial.
The traditional methods expose miners to highly concentrated salt, which leads to skin burns and infections.
Ndozo girabe ngeje gifananamu emimwa bwe nyingira mu mazzi ago ne gankwata ku mimwa mimwetera nnyo okutuka amabwa.
Yeah, and also we encourage them to drink a lot, water, juice, but not this time not alcohol.
Nensalamu ng'omukyala nenvaayo nengamba bakyala bino ebyokukola mu mining bigenda tukosa nnyo ng'abakyala bwe tweyiya.
Despite the physical challenges associated with the activity, locals are able to earn a livelihood.
Ufunyemu pichi, ninamu abaana, nagula poloti, erikasese na yeteri eno.
It's where we get money for school fees. We tufunako bu lipstick obutubeesawo ng'abakyala, energetic women, naffe tulabikako bulungi.
There is worry that the extraction of salt is superseding the capacity of the lake, calling for the utilization of other 6 salt lakes in the region.
But some of them, they are within the protected area. So we have no access. We have no access to those lakes.
Once the salt is harvested and washed with a solution to refine the final product, it reaches the market unbranded due to the miners' lack of processing technology.
Market. We need to market the product that we have. Our salt is good, but we've not minded in marketing. The government has not minded in marketing this product.
Oshiraba, even the packages you can see, we are using NOM as a weighing machine or a packing something to pack our salt.
And I'm very sure that if we are able to start producing our salt, good quality salt, we shall sell effectively in this country. And not only in this country, we also have what we call the regional integrations. We have a regional market.
The salt factory has been there for many years. It was constructed during the time of Obote, then it was commissioned during the time of Amini, but the factory has been there. So the government has not picked any interest in working on it.
However, the Uganda Development Corporation remains committed to ensuring the factory's revival. Ivan Kahwa and Andrew Sebida in Kasese district.
Uganda government plans to revive Cooperative Bank. According to the Minister of Trade, Industry and Cooperatives, Mwebesa Francis, the revival will be within a period of 1 year. He revealed the development at a trade review conference in Kampala. We have more on this report.
The Uganda Cooperative Bank, founded in 1963, was closed by the Bank of Uganda in 1999 due to inadequate capitalization and insolvency. The Minister of Trade, Industry and Cooperatives has revealed a landmark move to revive the defunct Uganda Cooperative Bank.
The Cooperative Bank will be in two sectors. We have already formulated something. Part of it will be a kind of a saving and the society, a part of a saving.
Minister Mwebesa says the Uganda Cooperative Bank's re-establishment is expected within a period of 1 year and will ride on the success structures of PDM and circles to enhance financial inclusion.
With our current program of parish development model, people will be able, it will be a bank of the people. But the biggest advantage is to help the ordinary person take a loan at the bank rate, which is the bank rate per annum.
The Trade Review Conference 2025 is the first of its kind since COVID-19 pandemic. The event aligns with Uganda's ambitious 10-fold growth strategy targeting a $500 billion GDP. Economists argue that achieving this ambitious target requires not just market access, but sustained market presence in international trade.
You must make sure that you have what we refer to as market presence, not market access. Access is you are being given to sell. Presence means that you have gone through all the procedures, the standards, you have done the standards, you up the standards, the logistics are okay, and you have the quantities to be able to go to that market.
The event, organized by the Trade Ministry in collaboration with Trademark Africa and UK International Development, is meant to assess Uganda's trade progress.
But now we are seeing at Busia alone about 1,800 trucks only for trade per day. So this of course means that now we are having a new problem. The time is receding again, but it's because the trade has increased.
Strengthening value addition across key sectors is also seen as a critical pillar.
Yes, so value addition, of course, we need, we export, and our exports are mostly raw products.
Crispus Adenitswe for UBC Business Roundup.
The Uganda Wildlife Authority has signed multiple investment contracts aimed at enhancing accommodation facilities within national parks and developing a glass bridge and restaurant at the top of Murchison Falls.
Tiang Tang Group, a diversified Chinese-owned Ugandan registered business enterprise, has signed a 20-year concession to develop and manage a 50-seater restaurant on a 2-acre piece of land at the top of the falls.
Now we have them going to do for us a bridge over the Nile, glass bridge, and with it will be a restaurant for the visitors to the glass bridge. And our prayer is that immediately we sign, they start the processes.
Today we sign for glass bridge in Murchison Falls. I'm in this country only 23 years. Before, black, now green, like German. I'm spending my life, my time, everything in this country because I love this country.
The agreements were signed in the presence of Martin Mugara, the State Minister for Tourism.
You have our support as a ministry, and in conclusion, because I know you people have to succeed, the investors. Please, if you feel there is anything else we can do, we are open to ideas. You might want to grow your numbers from the Chinese community in China, and you think as a ministry maybe there are some things we could do better to grow your volume so that you succeed in your business, be it even our other local partners. We are open to these ideas.
Other key concessions include Cargobed Holdings taking over the operations of Jacana Safari Lodge at the Queen Elizabeth National Park. The site will operate under the Serena brand upon completion of the Memorandum of Understanding. Russell Hall Limited signed an agreement with Uganda Wildlife Authority to establish a high-end lodge at Upper Losigiria in the Kidepo Valley National Park.
I know that government is investing in infrastructure. In Kidepo, there is someone putting up a big airport. I think they've started by road diversion. And once the airport is up and running, definitely that will also grow our traffic numbers.
You've chosen to go to Murchison Falls. You've chosen to go to Queen Elizabeth National Park. You've chosen to go to Kidepo Valley National Park. All these are very sensitive ecosystems, very important for conservation of biodiversity, but very important for our development as a nation. It's my humble appeal that you handle them with all the care that it takes.
In our corporate news, Ugandans have a strong entrepreneurial spirit, but sustaining businesses and ensuring long-term profitability remains a major challenge. To address this, Enravo and its partners have developed a strategic approach that includes tailored coaching sessions and specialized training modules for both individuals and organizations.
Culture eats strategy for breakfast. So it's not enough for you to have the strategy that, okay, this is where we want to go, but it's important for you to have the right culture in place. So Enravo is coming to fill that gap because culture is made by the people of the organization. You can say this year we want to hit this target, we want to go here. But if the people don't have the right culture, then they cannot achieve the targets or the strategy that you have in place. So what Enravo is doing, we are bridging that gap. That yes, maybe you have the strategy, but how do you then get there? And that is when we come in to hold your hand with your staff to create that right culture that is going to help you achieve that strategy. We get tailor-made sessions that not only happen once, but we walk that journey with the client.
Many companies actually don't really understand that we have a regulated financial space where companies and individuals can invest their money knowing that it is safe. And with us, that's where now we come in to plug that gap and encourage companies, individuals to, put aside money, not to just let money sit idly without earning them any interest. So this partnership will unlock that, where companies have just been keeping money sitting idly or even thinking of what to do next.
In our international stories, an executive order is being drafted at the White House that suggests the Trump administration may seek to levy additional fees of up to $1.5 million on China-made ships or fleets. This would include ships made in China docking at U.S. ports.
Approximately 90% of all U.S. imports come through seaports like this one, and a majority of the vessels are either constructed, owned, or operated by China, all of which could soon be imposed additional fees for docking in any U.S. port.
Whenever there's an increased cost of servicing your customers, typically because there's so much consumer products that are going from point A to point B on these large ocean vessels, you're going to have a trickle-down effect. And depending on the commodity, that increase of cost could have astronomical impacts on inflation.
The Trump administration is currently drafting an executive order on added port fees, and if implemented, the new policy could force shipping companies to turn to cost-saving efforts by limiting their stops at only major U.S. seaports like Los Angeles. That could have major consequences for exporters in rural areas.
For a grower in the Central Valley to have to spend another $500 to $1,000 to truck their cargo down to Los Angeles or Long Beach, get on a vessel and move out to Asia, maybe the price for that product, think of a walnut handler as an example, gets too high on a per unit basis, and suddenly they're competing with other growing nations.
Port of LA officials suggest that the numbers from February 2024 compared to 2025 show an increase as businesses ramped up their imports ahead of the new tariffs taking effect. And port officials say exports have declined for 3 months in a row, following a solid increase for 2 years before that.
Shipping industry executives say that we're still far from seeing the full scope of the retaliatory tariffs play out their full impact on the supply chains, trading costs for businesses, and consumer prices. And now the possibility of adding further costs to international trade is only adding more to the instability of profit margins.
That's about 513 billion shillings that Omeme owes UETCL. As of, this is money for December, January and February. And Omeme is still the one managing the system. So even tomorrow they will consume power. Even the day after tomorrow they will consume power until midnight of 31st of March. So the committee that is handling the transition is going to take care of all this to make sure that by the time Omeme is paid and we are taking over, at least UETCL, which has been the sole seller of electricity, gets their money.
Sorority Fruits Limited processes local oranges and mangoes into Teju juice. The factory, situated in Sorority Industrial Park under public-private partnership, has been operating since 2019. This transformative initiative, which supports local farmers and drives economic growth, takes center stage tonight in our Sounds of Business. Let's talk about the weather. With the rainy season back in full swing, we've seen how much damage excessive rains can cause. Before we place blame on the poor drainage system and the construction in wetlands, we as city dwellers need to be cautious of our waste disposal because it is also directly linked to the effects we see. Otherwise, it was lovely having you on the show. I'm Maureen Babidie. From me and the team, good night.
UBC, inspiring Uganda. In 1986,